Thank you. Good afternoon, grade 12s. This is Mr. Mohana once again. So then as I'm just about to continue this week, then I'm going on with theory. So before we can start, let me just introduce the learning objective for today. So by the end of this, I'm expecting you guys to be able to describe the role of operating system. But before I start, guys, then I'll just like to recap on what the operating system is. And or just let me just explain software in general. So a software refers to the instruction that tells the machine on what to do and how to do that. So then that's the general term or definition of what the software is. But now we've got different categories of the software. Like we are speaking about the system software and then application software. A system, the word system means interrelated components that can make a unified whole. So now then a system software is more like a main program on the computer that serves as an interface between the computer hardware and its application programs. Whereas then we know an application program is a task-specific program. So what do you mean about a task-specific program? So the task-specific program is a program that helps a user to accomplish a certain specific task. Like for example, then if you want to type a report, so then would it be possible to use Microsoft Excel? No, it's not. That's an answer. Because it's not meant for that particular purpose. That's why in simple, we are calling it a task-specific program. So now, but the most important thing about today's lesson, it's all about the role of operating system as in our system software. Then you can call it operating system software, others they call it a platform. So that means in order for you to run your application program, you need a certain platform. Like for example, Android is an example of your operating system. And then Linux is an example of your operating system. The Windows is an example of iOS. Those are the examples of operating system. These are your platforms in which you can be able to run other application programs. Like for example, then now what, but in common, they share the same task. Now let's talk about the role of operating system. Like I said, number one, they maintain the system software. How do they maintain the system software? Because each and every system software comes with what is so-called the utility program. So the word utility means help. So they help you, like in terms of administering the security, running the application. Then I'll show you how to do this practical, then how you can review this. And then they control hardware devices. Like I said, operating system is a main program on your computer that serves as an interface, like you see, between your hardware device, because they have to control your hardware devices. That's why sometimes, like for example, if I want to install the printer on the system here, and then I need a device driver for that particular software that I want to attach as a peripheral device. So that software then will serve as a way to control the communication between the two devices connected together. So now, let's have a look here. How do we start a computer? When a computer is turned on, the operating system need to be loaded in order to control the activity. This is called the booting. So we've got a cold and warm boot, guys. When the computer is turned on, it looks for instruction which is kept in read-only chip. These instructions perform basic hardware tests to ensure all working, find the OS and loads into the memory. Like we've got so-called BIOS setup. This BIOS setup, guys, like they said, I kept in the ROM. So this ROM is called CMOS. CMOS stands for complementary metal oxide semiconductor. So it's like a watch, like the battery of a watch. It looks like that inside your motherboard. This perform hardware tests to ensure that all devices are working. Find the OS and load it into the memory. So then we know that process is called the post. And then Also, operating system, it provides the user interface. What is a user interface, by the way? So how the user interact with the machine. So the space at which or in which the user can interact with the machine is called user interface. Like for example, we've got different types of the user interface. The first one is what the menu-driven user interface, like the one that I'm using currently now is called the graphical user interface. Then we normally have what is so called the graphical user interface. Let me just show you what I mean about the command line. I mean command line user interface. Okay, I'll just show you what I mean about the command line. CMD. It's called CMD in short. Okay, as I'm going back, so I'll show you why do I call it a command line. Because it's more like it's using the commands to so the user is using the commands in order to interact with the system. So that is why it's called command line. Like what you see the blank screen. Like, so how do I interact with this? I just write the command. Like for example, I write help. So what you see, you'll see all the commands. You see. Now, if I'm saying volume, then okay, volume. You see, that's a command. It says the volume in drive C has no label. Volume serial number is, so now then we are using what the commands, you understand? And then, for example, if now I'm saying exit, so, you know, this is command. So this is a command line user interface. Like now, so I believe now we all understand what you mean. Like we've got different types of the interface: menu driven, graphical user interface, command line interface. An operating system allows us to interact with the computer via what? The graphical user interface is represented by using small icon tabs and drop-down menus and buttons. So that's what you call it, graphical user interface. The command line, guys, you have seen that. So I believe we all know what is a command line interface. Common, single, and multi-user. Let's check. Single user, only one user can use the computer at a time. Hence the name single user operating system, it refers to it. Multi-user allow multiple users to access computer system at the same time. Like for example, I can talk about end computing, guys, whereby we've got only one CPU system units, a box like. So on that box, multiple user can connect on that board. They share different terminals on that. So that means it's called a multi-user. It allows multiple users to access computer system at the same time. All of people can share the same resource on the same computer. Okay, managing programs and applications. So then you know what is an application program and then what is, so the OS manages all applications within the computer device. Like I said, this is your platform in which you can be able to run, because without your operating system or your platform, there's no way that you can be able to run what? Your task specific program, your application program. Therefore, it provides the user with the interface to give instructions and data to the program. So that's what we know. So these are the most important tasks or the functions of the operating system as well. So now, OS or operating system assign and control resources such as what? CPU time, hard drive access, and RAM that application needs, you understand? Like for example, I'm going to show you an example here as I'll be sharing the second screen again. So when you go down to the task manager, then I'm gonna share that task manager, then as I'm sharing the second screen, then you see what's going to happen. This is what they mean about, okay. Let's check. We have a look on this task manager. This is my task manager. So on this task manager, then you see I have all the processes here, like how many applications are now active, then and then the amount of the CPU that is used. You can see I've got 35% of CPU used, but it's fluctuating. You understand? But now we've got 85% of the memory. That means our memory is overloaded. On the disk, then we've got this one, then we check. on the network as well. So then you see our network, the network is 0 megabyte of usage on it. Like then all these are the applications that are on. So like in terms of the performance, like we said here, OS are assigned control resources such as CPU time, hard drive access, RAM that the application needs. This is what you see. For example, we've got CPU usage here. So it tells you the information about like the utilization of that, then the memory, the disk, then we know we've got how many disks so far. Then I've got 2 disks. Then I've got C drive, of which is the main disk of the. So I've got disk G, of which is this is my USB. And then we've got Wi-Fi connected to the speed of the Wi-Fi. Then it shows you how to manage all this. Wi-Fi direct is what local area connection. Then now the speed and the utilization of all that information is shown in here. Like application history, then there's nothing. Startup process, we see all those applications that are running in the background of this. How many users on the system? Only one user. That's what you can simply see. Because since we said this one is a single user system. So can I go back? I believe now we have seen that as I'm going back to share the last screen. No. Okay. The OS is a multitasking. How does that mean? It takes care of other tasks such as antivirus processes. Like we have seen already how many processes were running. So that is a multitasking. Plugins, each task and application is given chance to use the CPU in turn. Like that is why you saw then how does that, you check that on the task manager. That's how you'll notice those processes. Like I said, you see what is the task manager? Can be accessed in Windows OS by using combination of the Control plus Alt plus Delete keys. Then immediately then you choose on the task manager, and then it's going to provide the information. That's what I've just shown you just now, guys. The CPU then and the RAM used, the application being used, the network activities, the OS service that are currently running. You understand? So like, can I go there again? So share it for the last time, maybe for those who haven't seen. Like this is what we are talking about, guys. This is a task manager. So on the task manager, like for example, you see the amount of CPU that is being used. In terms of the performance, also you can check the performance of what your CPU, the memory, the disk, and the network. Like all these are the applications also that are running within your system, and then the services that are provided on your system. You all check all these services under the task manager as part of what your operating system is just serving this utility program to manage this. So I believe we all now understand this. As I'm going back to the original slide, I believe now we all following. CPU RAM, like for example, the task manager provides information on the CPU and RAM usage, the application being used that you have seen, the network activities, the OS services that are running currently on the system that you have seen when I was just showing you the task manager just now. So you guys, I think today, since we don't have that much of the lessons, but I'd like to go back and just share some information as well. Just a minute. Just a minute. Just bear with me, guys. My apologies with all due respect. So as I wanted to share something here. system is a bit slow today, guys. My apology. I don't know what's going on with my system. It's taking forever. Come on, what's going on? Jesus, yes, today my system is very slow, guys. My apology with all due respect. Yeah, I'm going to 137. Okay, as I'm sharing this, guys, I just want to put more emphasis on this. One of the most important tasks of the operating system is to help the computer manage hundreds of processes that run at the same time. In other words, it needs to ensure that the appropriate number of resources is allocated to the process as well as the correct hardware is activated when required. An example of this can be seen when listening to the music while you are playing the games. You want to operate the you want your operating system to allocate the exact number of the resources to each of the application, allowing them to run at the same time. The last thing you want is for your computer to spend half time play music and other half running your games. Fortunately, the modem computer are very good at using resource effectively. It should be noted that there are some circumstances where your computer might run out of resources. This includes running multiple high intensity programs like what you have seen now. My machine was very slow because of the multiple programs that are open, as you can see here on these illustrations. Then you see we've got so many applications that are running. It should be noted that there are some circumstances where your computer might run out of resources. This includes running multiple high intensity processes at the same time. When this happens, close other programs that are not important and restart your computer. If this problem persists, you may have to buy a more powerful computer with more resource, guys. The specification, in other words, the software spec is very important. Let's have a look again. On single versus multi-user system, operating system can be designed with one or multiple user in mind. Single user are normally designed for the home and private use, as this computer use software that is licensed for single user only. This means only a single person can use the computer at once. An example of the single user is what Microsoft Windows, Mac OS. The multi-user operating system allow more than one person to access. Like for example, guys, the server. So what is a server? It's a main computer that provide the network resources. But that computer, it comes with different interface completely because of it has more of the administrative tool than individual machine called the single machine. Multi-user operating system allow more than one user to access and use computer system at the same time. Because of this, these operating systems are normally used as server. So now we understand what is a server. It can be accessed and used by multiple users through their computer networks. Like for example, then on Facebook. So how many of you guys log on Facebook? So to access your resources, so many. So then where are those resources? Like the word server, then it's just self-explanatory. That means to serve. As a client, you connect like the parasitism situation of the relationship, like whereby the other member is a host and the other one is a client. A client always depends on the server, then the server has to provide the resources. The same situation with this. A mainframe computer uses multiple computer terminals that are connected to the main computer. Example of the multi-user operating system include Unix and the Linux. These are the operating system, guys. Now, I believe multitasking, multi-user multitasking, then you have to be careful about what is a multi-user multitasking. And then so one drawbacks of older operating systems is that they were only able to load one program on one computer memory at a time. This means that the computer could only run a single program at a time. But now, since you are here capable of running multiple programs at the same time, this is what multitasking. So it's different from multi-user. multitasking and multi-user. Those are the two different things. I've spoken about the control panel that we have seen. Like I said, tabs in the task manager window. I think for the assessment, you should be able to know all this. We've got the process, performance, application history, the startup, and the user details and the services. That's what we have seen, guys. The process tab gives the user information on which programs are running and the resource data are used. Performance. This contains information on how your hardware is being used. This includes your CPU, your memory, hard drive, and network, and CPU, GPU. Applied history. Show the user how much of your CPU and network have been used by a virus application. Startup. Provide information on which application automatically becomes active once your computer is turned on. Disable some application can speed up the booting process. User. Provide more information on which user are currently signed into the computer and how many resources they are using. So that's what is happening. You get all this information under the control panel, guys. So I think for now, can I see how many people are here? So it's my time to entertain any questions. If there are no questions, I'll just call it the end of the chapter for today. Thanks for coming in, guys. See you tomorrow as we continue with the same computer management. Then tomorrow I'll be talking about the file management, as you can see it underneath here, as part of the computer management. Thank you so much. See you once again. My pleasure.